In this lesson, we're going to explore the basics of the change management processes. Now, understanding the need for change is only half the battle when it comes to change management. The other half is much more intricate, and it lies in the processes that govern exactly how a change is going to be executed. Whether it's a minor software update or a major system overhaul, the steps taken to implement a proposed change can spell the difference between a change's success and eventual disaster. Now, as you go through the change management process, you're going to see that there are 5 main steps to this process: preparing for the change, creating a vision for the change, implementing the change, verifying the change, and documenting the change. First, we need to prepare for the change. In the initial phase of change management, preparing for the change involves understanding the current state and recognizing the need for a transition to occur. It requires a thorough assessment of your existing processes, identifying inefficiencies, and pinpointing potential challenges that might arise during the transformation. At this stage, it's crucial to gather all the necessary resources, engage stakeholders, and ensure that the organization is both mentally and operationally ready for the change ahead. Second, we need to create a vision for the change. Creating a clear and compelling vision for the change is crucial for guiding the transformation and ensuring it's aligned across the organization. This vision will serve as our North Star and provides with the direction and purpose by defining the desired future state, explaining the reasons for the change, and offering a picture of what success will actually look like. The more vivid and inspiring the vision is, the more likely it is to generate enthusiasm and buy-in from all the stakeholders involved in the proposed change. Third, we need to implement the change. With a clear vision in place, we need to put our plan into action. Implementing the change might require training sessions, restructuring your teams, or introducing new tools and technologies into your organization. Throughout its implementation, continuous communication is going to be the key to your change success. Now, make sure that you can keep your stakeholders informed about the progress, address their concerns promptly, and be open to feedback to ensure a smoother transition and reduce the overall resistance that you're going to experience. Fourth, we need to verify the change. Once our change has been implemented, it's essential to measure its effectiveness and ensure that our desired outcomes have been realized. Verification is going to involve comparing the new state to the envisioned objectives set out at the beginning of our change. Now, it might require surveys, performance metrics analysis, or stakeholder interviews to be able to evaluate whether this change was successful. Any discrepancies or issues identified during this phase should also be addressed promptly to refine and optimize the change process. Fifth, we're going to document the change. Now, the final step in the basic change management process is to document the change, and this is an important thing for us to consider so you can maintain a historical record of any changes that were implemented and ensure that we can properly capture any lessons learned for future reference. This documentation will encompass the entire process from the initial need for a change through to its final implementation and verification. By maintaining detailed records, organizations can reflect on their past initiatives, understand the decisions that have been made, and continuously improve their future change management practices. Now, when it comes to the change management process, there are several areas that you need to consider as you move throughout this process, including the use of scheduled maintenance windows, having a solid backup plan, testing the results after the proposed change was implemented, and always using standard operating procedures to implement your proposed changes. First, we have the use of scheduled maintenance windows. Now, it is never a good idea to make a change on the fly or during peak operational hours. So most large organizations will set aside a specific time frame when system adjustments and changes can be implemented in order to minimize potential disruptions and to ensure that if something goes awry, that the impact on the organization's daily operations will be reduced. For example, when I used to run a large enterprise network that had services for over 1 million end users across 6 continents, we ended up having a weekly planned schedule maintenance window that occurred every Saturday evening from midnight to 4 a.m. at our main facility that was located on the East Coast of the United States. So if we ever needed to reboot a server to install a non-critical piece of software, we would simply do it during this scheduled maintenance window because we knew it was already there and on the books, and everybody was aware that changes were happening during that window. Now, having a scheduled maintenance window doesn't mean that you're only allowed to implement changes once a week, because sometimes emergencies happen and you need to make a change fast. For example, if a brand new security patch is released by Microsoft that lists it as a critical patch, we probably don't want to wait another 6 days until next Saturday to be able to install that patch. So we could propose an emergency change that, if approved, could be implemented within a few minutes, a few hours, or a few days, depending on the criticality and the potential impact of the change on our end users. Second, we need to ensure that we have a backup plan created for our proposed change. Even with the best planning, unforeseen issues can arise during the implementation of a proposed change. This is where the backup plan becomes invaluable to your organization. A backup plan is a predetermined strategy to revert the system back to their original state if a change doesn't go as expected. Think of it as a safety net that ensures that our operations can quickly be returned to normalcy in the event of a complication during a proposed change implementation. Now, third, we have to test the results of our implemented changes. It is not enough to simply implement a change and hope for the best. Instead, we need to validate that the change was successful by conducting tests of our systems and operational processes after the change occurs to ensure that our desired outcomes have been achieved and that no new issues have been created by implementing the change. This step acts as a validation of the change to confirm its success or highlight areas that need further modifications or tweaks. Fourth, and finally, it's important that we highlight the importance of following your organization's standard operating procedures whenever you're implementing a change. Now, a standard operating procedure, or SOP, is a detailed, step-by-step set of instructions that guides how a specific task should be carried out. When it comes to a proposed change, these SOPs are going to help to ensure that we can maintain consistency and efficiency for our enterprise networks. By always using standard operating procedures to implement our changes in our enterprise systems and networks, our organizations can ensure that there is a uniform approach being used, which in turn helps to reduce errors and inconsistencies across our systems. So remember, the journey into change management is not a straight road, but a series of well-defined steps that each is crucial in its own right. By using scheduled maintenance windows, creating backup plans, testing the results of our implemented changes, and utilizing standard operating procedures to make our changes, we can increase the chances of successfully implementing our proposed changes.